जिनको अभी अभी तक पता नहीं चला, आपको पता है कोक का फॉर्मूला लीक हो गया। आज तक कोक का फॉर्मूला लीक नहीं हुआ था, किसी ने कोक का फॉर्मूला भी लीक कर दिया। लेट्स सी द वीडियो, कैसे बनाया भाई ने
lab coats. Did you
वो। replicating, perfectly replicating the Coca-Cola.
know Coca-Cola is the world's most popular non-alcoholic beverage?
Yeah,
That's
I
a little
remember.
tidbit I picked up as I studied literally every aspect of this drink for almost a year at the cost of my own sanity, but I digress. Point is,
आज तक इसको पता नहीं था कि कोक बनती कैसे है, बट कुछ एक्सपेरिमेंट के कारण या कुछ चीजों के कारण सबको देख के अब लैब कोटर्स ने बना दिया। अब घर पे बन सकती है, अब घर पे बनाएगा भी कौन, ये भी नहीं
Coca-Cola
पता।
is kind of a big
फॉर्मूला नहीं
deal.
पता ना अभी तक किसी को।
Practically every human being on the planet knows what it is. And yet, despite existing for almost 140 years, only a
वन
handful of
फॉर
people actually know what it's made
140
of.
years।
As a matter of fact, the Coca-Cola secret formula is one of the most tightly guarded trade secrets to ever exist.
According to the company, only two employees are permitted to complete the formula at given point a time. They are not permitted to travel together. इतना टॉप सीक्रेट फॉर्मूला है कि साथ में दोनों जने ट्रेवल भी नहीं कर सकते हैं।
With protective measures so extreme that they're almost laughable. Seriously, they have a giant steel vault that they show off on guided tours. Does that not sound like something straight out of SpongeBob? And if that wasn't enough, the ingredients are all shipped unlabeled and from entirely different facilities, who are kept almost entirely in the dark about what they're making. So much effort, all for a
What the
soft
fuck?
drink that the company half-heartedly
फॉर्म अगर किसी के पास इसका फॉर्मूला का कुछ भी है तो कोई बता भी नहीं सकता। अगर कोका कोला या पेप्सी को बताएगा तो उन्होंने भी ट्रेड सीक्रेट नहीं लेना, क्योंकि कंपटीशन नहीं रहेगा ना उसके बाद।
promotes with horribly out-of-touch AI commercials. Wouldn't it be funny if somebody managed to steal the secret formula right from under their noses, piece together a chemically identical beverage with the exact same flavor, and then tell
लैब
absolutely
कोक
everyone on the internet how to make it
कोई पी नहीं पाएगा अगर ऐसी होगी बेवरेज, मेरे को तो यही लगता है।
themselves? To most sane people, this probably sounds like a fool's errand. After
ओके।
all, many have attempted the quest and invariably came up short. Trust me, I tried all their formulations, none of them tasted like real Coke. So, is this even possible?
यू वांट मी टू ट्राई? ओके ओके, मैं भी किसी दिन ऐसे करूंगा। मैं भी कोक इसका फॉर्मूला या ये बता देगा ना, मैं भी अपनी घर यहाँ पे बैठ के ट्राई करेंगे कोक बनाने के लिए। पर मेरे को नहीं लगता यहाँ पे सारे फॉर्मूले के वो मिल जाएंगे, एसिड्स मिल जाएंगे।
Well, in theory, yes. One article from 2016 theorized that the recipe could be deciphered with the help of mass spectrometry, although the author basically concluded that only a major group like Pfizer would have the time and resources to actually do so. Guess this was before science YouTubers got serious, cause I actually have two YouTube friends with two
ओके।
different kinds of mass spectrometers, and one even happens to be a college professor. Yeah, we're coming
व्हाट द फक, ये लगे ब्रेकिंग बैड पूरा सीन बन गया है। ये ब्रेकिंग बैड में वो बनाते हैं ना, मग वगैरह फिर कोक बनाते हैं, वैसा सीन बन गया। एक प्रोफेसर, एक ड्रग डीलर, सब कुछ हो गया उसके बाद।
for you, Coca-Cola. Oh, but Zach, Coca-Cola uses coca leaves. You can't possibly hope to replicate it without. Have you heard of chemicals?
या
I'm
वी
aware that
हर्ड।
whatever I make won't be absolutely identical down to the trace contaminants. But if I add all of the major flavoring agents that are detected in real Coca-Cola, I should get something that tastes like Coke, regardless of if it came from a coca plant. And spoiler alert,
Dude.
Yeah, I can't even tell. Even though I know already, I can't even tell.
I wasn't expecting it to taste so much like Coke. Oh my god.
this approach actually works pretty
लेट्स हम भी किसी दिन बनाए, यहाँ पे बैठ के कोक बनाएंगे हम भी। ठीक है ठीक है ठीक है ठीक है ठीक है। ओके 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 चैट, ओके चैट, लेट्स सी द फुल वीडियो।
freaking well. And in regards to legality, well, Coca-Cola hasn't actually patented their recipe. Seriously. Doing so would require them to expose what they're actually patenting, and that's
नहीं भी
obviously
यार,
not something
अगर पैटर्न करवा लिया तो एक सारा इंग्रेडिएंट्स को एक्सपोज करना पड़ेगा कि ये डलता है हमारे कोक में।
they want to do. Consequently, unless I try marketing my own product under the Coca-Cola name, there's really nothing they can do about it. So, what are we waiting for? Let's get cooking. Now, believe it or not, we already know over 99% of Coca-Cola's makeup, at least by weight. A liter of Coke
Sugar.
contains roughly 110 grams of sugar,
Okay.
96 milligrams of caffeine, and 0.64
96 milligrams of caffeine.
grams of phosphoric acid, based on pH measurements and other
Phosphoric
scientific
acid.
analysis. It also contains caramel color, which contributes important flavor
Okay.
compounds like furfural, in addition to the
मेरे को
cola's
कुछ
rich
नहीं
brown
समझ लग
hue.
रहा पर देख
What we
लेंगे कोई
don't
नहीं बना
know
के
is what
देखेंगे
makes
एक
up
दिन
the
यहाँ
last
पे
ingredient: natural flavors. This is
मेरे
where the
खुद नहीं
real battle
लगता
begins. As of 2025, only
नेचुरल
one of the natural
फ्लेवर्स
flavors can be definitively verified: decoconized coca leaf extract. The Stepan Company in New Jersey is one of the only American companies licensed to work with coca leaves. And guess who they sell the extract to once the cocaine is removed? Cola nut extract was also used at one point, but it was phased out in favor of refined caffeine.
ओके
I tried finding my own
पहले आपको पता था कोका कोला कभी भी ड्रिंक नहीं थी वो कभी उसको एज अ दवाई मेडिसिन लॉन्च किया गया था उसको कभी भी ड्रिंक के लिए लॉन्च हुई नहीं थी अभी भी
source of cocaine-free coca extract, but companies like Power Leaves never returned my emails, and the package I bought from this definitely not sketchy Peruvian website got seized at the border. So basically I was at square one like every other non-Coca-Cola entity, which meant I had to work up the entire flavor profile from scratch. At
ओके
first, I
लेट्स ओपन कोका को
thought this might be fairly
रेसिपी
easy. I mean,
मतलब ऑनलाइन सब सभी बनाने के लिए पढ़ेंगे आप हर चीज ये क्या क्या बना सकते हैं क्या क्या कैसे बना सकते हैं कौन से फॉर्मूलेस लगेंगे कौन से लिक्विड्स लगेंगे कौन से केमिकल्स लगेंगे
several cola recipes are already published, including the original Pemberton Coca-Cola from 18.
व्हाट द फक प्रिपरेशन ऑफ सीक्रेट रेसिपी कोका कोला इंग्रेडिएंट्स देखो कितने सारे हैं इंग्रेडिएंट्स के फ्लेवर एजेंट्स ओके
86, so I figured it'd simply be a matter of tweaking these until I got something that fit. Long story short, I was very, very wrong.
the
As
face
a
of
starting
learning.
point, most recipes call for the following set of flavors: orange, lemon,
Okay.
lime, coriander, nutmeg, cinnamon, vanilla, and neroli.
ये बनाना क्या जाता है ये थोड़ा सा अजीब का फ्लेवर नहीं बन जाएगा अगर ऐसा कुछ सब कुछ डाल देगा उस पे
A few other ingredients that get suggested include black pepper, lavender, clove, and kaffir lime leaf. So I bought all these flavors as essential oils from reputable vendors. Using essential oils in food might sound a bit strange, but rest assured this is fairly standard practice in the food and
ऑयल थोड़ा पीते हैं हम उस पे
beverage industry, as it allows
कोका
for
कोला
very
में अगर ऑयल होगा तो पियेंगे कैसे शुगर डाल के इतना तो नहीं कुछ चेंज होने वाला अगर शुगर भी डाल देंगे क्या क्या ही चेंज हो जाएगा उसमें
precise and repeatable combination of flavors. To run my early trials, I would measure precise volumes of each oil using a micropipette and combine them in a small
ये तो
vial.
पूरा केमिस्ट्री लैब उसने शुरू कर दिया है यहाँ पे तो
Once mixed, the required amount of flavor oil would be dissolved in roughly 1 milliliter of food-grade alcohol, which helps it disperse into the soda instead of clumping into droplets. This was an issue
ये परफ्यूम टाइप बन रहा है ना परफ्यूम से ऑयल ऑयल से बनते हैं इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ
I faced when I made root beer from sassafras oil a few years ago, and the ethanol practically eliminates it without throwing off the flavor.
तेरी
Finally,
क्या ही
the flavor
बना रहे
mixture will be measured and added to a
कुछ
predetermined
नहीं
volume
समझ
of
लग रहा
soda,
मेरे को
which was made with the established proportions of acid, caffeine, caramel color, and sugar. Pretty straightforward.
ब्रो a lot of
Initially, I attempted to use something called an orthogonal array to perform my
यार
analysis.
पी कैसे रहा है fucking यार ऑयल है सारे ऑयल को कैसे पी सकते हैं हम मैं तो नहीं आज तक ऑयल पीऊंगा कभी भी जरूरत पड़ी भी कभी
Nighthawk and Light has an excellent video explaining how these work,
लास्ट में ये बताएगा ना कि कैसे बनाते हैं हम उस फॉर्मूले को ट्राई करके एक बार बना के देखेंगे यहाँ पे कोक को
which I highly recommend you check out.
कोका
But
कोला
basically, an orthogonal or Taguchi array is a type of mathematical table that allows you to find meaningful correlations with a relatively small number of trials. In my case, I was hoping to determine which flavors contributed the most to the flavor of cola. Unfortunately, the human mouth perceives flavor mixtures in really complicated ways, so my results were highly inconclusive, and often disgusting. That said, I did actually learn a lot by doing this. In terms of
Okay.
flavors, nutmeg,
मतलब अलग अलग फ्लेवर्स ट्राई करके उसको एक फ्लेवर बनाने की ट्राई कर रहा है कि हाँ कोक जैसे सिमिलर फ्लेवर बन जाए पर शायद कोक ना बने कोई एक इंग्रेडिएंट्स रहता हो तभी इतने टाइम सीक्रेट है ना अभी तक वो
cinnamon, and coriander seem to contribute the most to the iconic cola flavor, but not without a strong citrus base composed of lemon and lime. At the same time, flavors like neroli and lavender just didn't seem to work in the modern profile. They added a strong, floral note that isn't found in today's Coke, and also made it taste like artificial sweeteners were being used. And despite showing up in most recipes,
ऑब्वियसली
orange didn't really
आर्टिफिशियल
seem
स्वीटनर तो यूज होते ही होते हैं मेरे को कुछ नहीं समझ लग रहा पर मैं कुछ कुछ समझ रहा हूँ अभी कहाँ तक ये पहुंचा अभी तो आधी वीडियो हुई है
to fit either, at least not in the large amounts that are usually suggested. 1 to 2% ended up being the sweet
ओए
spot, and
बस
while
सुनो
modestly important to the
35
flavor,
वॉल्यूम
higher amounts would begin to throw
कैरेक्टर
off the citrus
फॉर द
notes.
सजेशन
Of the other
बस
flavors I tested, kaffir lime leaf was by far the most out of place, since it basically tasted like citronella. Clove was similarly overbearing and noticeably different from the spices found in Coke, while black pepper and vanilla contrastingly seemed to do very little. I mean, if I really boosted the vanilla, it was detectable and the perceived sweetness would go up, but
अलग
black
अलग
pepper
ऑयल्स
mostly
को
just seemed to
टेस्ट करके
accentuate
बता रहा है कि हाँ भाई ऐसे ऐसे टेस्ट करते हैं और कि कौन सा वाला ज्यादा सिमिलर टेस्ट कर रहा है किस किस को मिक्स करेंगे तो सिमिलर कोक का टेस्ट बनेगा
the more earthy flavors already found in nutmeg. Now, while I did gather at least a rough idea of what's in Coca-Cola from these early trials, I still had no idea what the correct ratios were, or what ingredients I was missing. So to find out, I cracked out my secret weapons: scientific papers and chemical analysis. In terms of
अच्छा इसके
analysis,
भी बने
Vince from
हुए हैं
Neptunium
केमिकल एनालिसिस बने हुए हैं कोका कोला के क्योंकि कईयों ने ट्राई किया है ना बनाने का इसलिए बना होगा शायद
and Ben from Mass Spec Everything agreed to analyze Coca-Cola, my ingredients, and a few similar sodas like Pepsi using their mass spectrometers. These machines essentially take a tiny sample of whatever you want, split it into chemical fractions using either a liquid or gas chromatography column, and
ओके
then analyze each fraction by ionizing and firing its components through a magnetic field. Much like a prism splitting up light, the magnetic field splits up ions based on their mass, giving a sort of fingerprint that can be used to identify what chemical was
अच्छा इतनी अच्छी टेक्नोलॉजी हो चुकी है अभी तक कि आप ये भी बता सकते हो कि लाइक कोई भी फॉर्मूला डालो इस पे और आप बता सकते हो कि उस फॉर्मूला में कौन सा केमिकल यूज हुआ है
ionized.
आई डोंट नो
That's the
दैट
explanation, and this is the exact chemical makeup of Coca-Cola. Let's dissect its secrets, shall we? The dominant peak we found was something called alpha terpineol, which mostly arises from the acid catalyzed hydrolysis of limonene and pinene, and it hints that citrus oils do in fact make up a large portion of Coke's flavor. The next major peak is actually the remaining limonene, followed by 4-terpineol and
ओके
fenchol. Cinnamaldehyde, saponine, and
मेरे
carine
को
were
कुछ
also
नहीं समझ लग
detected,
रहा
indicating that for
आगे करो
sugar
इसको
point.
मेन
I chose
फोकस
to
पे
also
जाना
run the data from
रिसर्च
this
पेपर्स पे
article
आ
in the
गया
Journal
अभी
of
ये
Agricultural and Food Chemistry.
कहाँ
This
से
table in
शुरू होगा
particular
वो करना
listed pretty much every flavor
कोक
found in
बनानी कहाँ से शुरू
Coca-Cola,
करेगा कि
and
हाँ भाई
even
यहाँ
gave their
से
measured
ऐसे करके
concentrations.
कोक बनती है
There
यहाँ से
were a
शुरू कर
few
दो
flavors they left out, such as fenchol, but I figured once the concentrations of other ingredients were determined, these secondary flavors would be easy to dial in with the help of mass spectrometry. I won't be going through every chemical on this list, but there are a few I'd like to
मेरे को
point
भी
out that
चाहिए
reveal
हर
important
केमिकल का
information
तो
about the
लिस्ट
secret
बताए मेरे
formula.
को जस्ट मेरे को ये
Obviously,
बता दे
cinnamaldehyde and vanillin can be directly correlated with cinnamon and vanilla, so we can check those off as part of Coke's recipe. Limonene and alpha-terpineol are also present, along with aldehydes like octanol, nonanol, and decanol, which collectively signal the strong presence of citrus oils. This is all stuff we mostly
यार
knew.
छोड़ना इतना
Things getting
क्यों
interesting
जा रहा है इतना मेरे को नहीं पता चल जाना चाहिए तेरा ज्यादा अभी व्हाट द फक व्हाट्स हैपन क्या हो गया क्या हो गया क्या हो गया क्या हो गया
though, with
अच्छा ठीक है चल रहा 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 है रुक रुक
linalool, and the various forms of eugenol. Eugenol and its esters may from time to
I
time
don't want to
contribute
know research paper से directly वहाँ पे
common
जा
citrus
यार
oils just like linalool, meaning we
research
can
paper
pretty
minimum
definitively
भाई यार
say neroli and lavender are not
the
ingredients in
missing
Coke.
most
The last chemical I'm going to bring up
how
is acetic
यहाँ
acid.
शुरू करते हैं
To me,
how to make Coca-Cola
how it's made. Brief spoiler, the startup cost for this recipe can be kinda high, unless you have a
why
pre-existing stockpile of essential oils and accurate measuring equipment. Once you have everything though, you can easily produce a bulk flavor solution that will last for years and allow you
अच्छा मतलब एक बोतल से कितना बना सकते हैं लाइक अगर मैं एक बोतल बना लूं उससे मैं कितनी कोक बना सकता हूँ
to create servings of
कोई
Coke
फ्लेवर्स ही है इसमें बाकी तो सारी गैस है या शुगर है
for mere pennies. No more paying a company that won't even pay real animators. In terms of hardware, we'll need a mass scale, an adjustable micropipette that can accurately dispense up to 1,000
मैंने
microliters,
यूज किया
a
है
50
ये भी
milliliter graduated cylinder, some 1 liter storage bottles, and
ओके
some kind of heat resistant glassware for making the syrup.
ये इसका स्क्रीनशॉट मार लो जल्दी जल्दी हम जब भी बनाएंगे मेरे को सेंड कर देना इन चीजें चाहिए कोक बनाने के लिए हमको
Resist the temptation to use metal cookware, since phosphoric acid can attack it and dissolve less than healthy metals into the soda. There is a reason soda cans have that plastic liner. Finally, you can also use a magnetic stirrer for mixing, as well as a 1 liter volumetric flask to make the dilution steps a bit easier. For ingredients, we have all the
ओके
essential oils seen here.
इसका भी स्क्रीनशॉट मार लो जल्दी जल्दी हम बाद में देखेंगे कि जब बनाएंगे तब ये वाला चार्ट मेरे को भेज देना हम इसे देख के बनाएंगे कौन से केमिकल्स एंड ऑयल्स चाहिए हमारे को
Sugar, carbonated water, caffeine, caramel color, food grade alcohol,
ओके
85% phosphoric
फिर
acid, glycerin, wine tannins, 5% vinegar, vanilla extract, and fenchol. Quick note, fenchol melts just above room temperature, so you might need to warm it up in some hot water before beginning. I bought my sample on Amazon, and after testing it, I can
हम भी
confirm
किसी
its
दिन
flavor is
करेंगे कोई
present in
नहीं
Coke. So
लेट्स
use it if you can. For caramel color, I used Shanks brand, but other varieties like Durkee should work just as well, as long as they're composed of actual caramel color and not a mix of red and green food dyes. If you don't use Shanks though, try playing with the amounts you add to get the right color. Also, keep in mind that we are working with chemicals here, including a few that are
यार
mildly
अगर
hazardous.
इतना ही
So, for your own
एसिडिक है
safety,
या इतना ही प्रॉब्लमेटिक है बनाना कोक हम इतना पीते क्यों हैं हम तो ऐसे पीते हैं कि हाँ भाई कुछ भी नहीं है उसमें
wear gloves, measure accurately, and don't taste any of the unmixed ingredients. The first step is to prepare what most people call the 7X flavoring, which is the mixture of
7x
essential oils and
फ्लेवरिंग
alcohol that make up the Coca-Cola secret
ओके
formula.
अभी कोका कोला को बनाने के लिए स्टार्ट में जो केमिकल्स एंड ऑयल्स लगते हैं उनको बना रहा है ये अभी तो स्टार्टिंग में तो
To be
बाकी उसके
clear,
बाद
what I'm about to
गैसेस और जो कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड लगती है और बाकी सारे इंग्रेडिएंट्स लगता है उसको बाद में डालेगा मेरे को लग रहा है
share is not the
शुगर टाइप
Coca-Cola secret
थिंग्स
formula, since I failed to utilize decoconized coca leaf extract. Chemically, though, it's about as close as you can get without it, and the real deal should be fairly similar. The recipe is 45.8 milliliters lemon, 36.5 milliliters lime, 1.2 milliliters orange,
ये मिनिमम लाइक ये पूरा खेल पूरे मिलीमीटर्स का है कि थोड़ा सा भी ज्यादा डल गया तो सारा केमिकल खराब हो जाएगा सारा मिक्सचर खराब हो जाएगा दोबारा से बनाना पड़ेगा कोक वो सेम नहीं बनेगा वो
8 milliliters tea tree, 4.5 milliliters cassia cinnamon, 2.7 milliliters nutmeg, 0.7 milliliters coriander, and 0.6 milliliters fenchol. And optimally, you'd let this mixture
Okay.
age for a day or two before continuing. Art of Drink has an excellent video explaining why, and even the original Pemberton version of Coca-Cola includes this aging step. In the end, you'll be rewarded with about 100 milliliters of flavor oil, which is enough for over 5,000 liters of soda,
What the fuck इस एक शीशी से हम 5000 लीटर्स की कोक बना सकते हैं
or about as much as your mom drinks in a day. To make the 7X solution, simply dilute 20 milliliters of the flavor oil to a volume of 1 liter using food-grade alcohol. And before anyone gets worried, the amount of alcohol being added to the final soda is 5 times less than what you get from a non-alcoholic beer, and far too little to taste or make this drink
हाँ
intoxicating.
शायद होती होगी इसमें ऑयल कोल होती होगी बट हमको उस पर टेस्ट नहीं आता है पता नहीं चलता कि हाँ भाई है भी है नहीं है
Other flavor extracts like vanilla or almond use ethanol as a solvent. This is no different. Still, if alcohol is an issue, you can emulsify the oil into water with the help of gum arabic. Check out Glenn and Friends Cooking to see how he does this with his cola. Anyway, next, we'll need to make a secondary water-based solution containing the other ingredients, aside from sugar and carbonated
ऐसे क्यों
water.
लग रहा है मैं अभी वो ब्रेकिंग बैड का यहाँ पे सामान लेके बैठ जाऊंगा और पढ़ाना शुरू कर दूंगा ऐसे ऐसे कैप हिलाने शुरू कर दूंगा मैं
Into roughly 200 milliliters of hot water, measure out 10 milliliters of 5% vinegar, 9.65 grams of caffeine, 175 grams of glycerin, 45 milliliters of 85% phosphoric acid, 8 grams of wine tannins, 10 milliliters of vanilla extract, and 320 milliliters of Shank's caramel color. In
मेरे को ब्रो कह रहा है कुछ समझ तो आ रहा नहीं क्या देख रहा है मैं क्या करूं यार मेरे को देखना पड़ रहा है नहीं मैं किसी दिन कोई नहीं आराम से बैठ के अभी बनाएंगे इसको
case you're wondering, the glycerin is being added for texture and mouthfeel. Without it, the drink tends to feel a bit thinner and more like diet soda. Also, if using vanilla extract feels imprecise, you can alternatively mix up a solution containing 9.5 grams per liter of vanillin and use 1 milliliter of that. Given the fairly limited impact vanilla seems to have, though, you probably wouldn't notice a major difference. Give each ingredient time to fully incorporate before adding the next, and once everything is dissolved, dilute the mixture to a final volume.
ज्यादा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड नहीं लग रहा थोड़ा सा काम करना ये मेरे को तो अभी से सिर चकराने लग गया देख के क्या क्या मिक्स कर रहा है सारा कुछ याद तो रहेगा नहीं स्क्रीनशॉट तो मार लिए होंगे आपने ना
Of 1 liter using water. Now, let's make some Coca-Cola. For this demo, I'll be making 1 liter, just so scaling up or down is a bit easier.
ओके
Into
इसमें
a glass
शुगर
dish,
डालेगी
add 104 grams of sugar, and just enough water to dissolve everything.
ओके
I know I
एंड
said
वाटर
110
डालेगा
grams of sugar
300
per liter of soda at the
300
beginning
या
of the video,
नहीं
but
कितना
here's the
डाला
deal. That's for a mixture of
300
fructose and
200
glucose,
grams
like you'd find in corn syrup. If
300
we add
ग्राम्स
110 grams
लगेगा
of
मेरे को लगता
sucrose
है
or cane sugar, the phosphoric acid will cause it to react with the water
ओके
and form nearly 116 grams of those simpler sugars. That would throw off the sweetness of the drink, so we use less sugar to compensate. Anyway,
फाइन शुगर
next we
लगी
add our
यहाँ पे
flavor
तो
solutions to the syrup. 10 milliliters of the water-based solution and 1
जो पहले हमने एक दो सोल्यूशन बनाए ना एक वाटर बेस्ड सोल्यूशन बनाया एक ऑयल बेस्ड सोल्यूशन बनाया पहले ऑयल वाला नहीं डालना पहले वाटर बेस्ड सोल्यूशन
milliliter
डालना
of the
इसमें
alcohol-based 7X solution. You might need a few extra drops of the 7X solution. It really depends on your taste. As
ओके
soon as everything is combined, microwave or otherwise heat the mixture until nearly boiling, and cover to prevent the more volatile flavors from escaping. Heating like this helps the phosphoric acid break down compounds like limonene and citral.
हीट करनी पड़ेगी मेरे को ये जलाना है थोड़ा मेरे को कुछ
And it also accelerates that sugar hydrolysis reaction we just talked about. So
करनी है कि हाँ भाई उससे खराब हो जाएगी कोक क्योंकि वो गैस बहुत छोड़ती फोम बहुत छोड़ती ना इसलिए वो बोल रहा है अभी अभी
you can
यूज
drink
नहीं
it directly, but if you want the most accurate version of the final flavor, allow
ओके
the soda to rest for a day or so in the fridge. And again, while the flavor is as close as I could get to Coke after a year of trying, and certainly closer than any other clone I've tasted, there is still room for perfection. So if you have the
ओके
ingredients,
अभी भी परफेक्ट नहीं है अभी भी थोड़ा सा लाइक क्योंकि ट्रेड सीक्रेट तो कोई बताने वाला नहीं है इसको ओके कोका कोला का अगर सीक्रेट ही पता चल गया है कुछ भी निकल गया तो बाकी कंपनीज भी डूब जाएंगी कि सू कर देगा इसको पहले पहले अगर ये इसको पता भी चला ना ये बता नहीं पाएगा यहाँ पे हमको भी बता नहीं पाएगा इसलिए मेरे को पता है
feel free to experiment. And for future reference, I'll have the most up-to-date version of the recipe in the video description. Of course, I could go on and on about how I think my cola tastes, but what do other people think? Is this a convincing replica, or just another Pemberton knockoff? Well, I set up several blind and non-blind taste tests, and people actually had trouble telling it apart from real Coke.
This is regular Coke. See, I can't even tell. Even though I know already, I can't even tell.
9.5 out of 10.
9.5 आउट ऑफ 10 मतलब इतनी एक्यूरेट बना दी है भाई ने
10. That's pretty good.
That tastes pretty close. Like, I may not be able to tell if these were side by side with the original taste.
You know,
ये
that's
भी उसको अगर इसको बताया ना जाए ना कि हाँ भाई ये वाली कोक है या नहीं कोक है, तो किसी को पता भी नहीं चलेगा कि ये कोक की बोतल में इसका अपना फॉर्मूला डाला हुआ है इसने। अभी पता है सबको कि हाँ भाई कोक एक्सपेरिमेंट कर रहा था, तो वो उस चीज माइंड में रह जाती है वो चीजें।
that is definitely, you
होममेड
know,
कोक है ना
Coke or a
इसलिए।
Coke product. You know, if you said it was vanilla Coke or something like that, I'd be like, yeah, maybe that's definitely Coke.
I think this is more similar to this bottle than this is to that bottle, which is crazy to think about now that I said that out loud.
Yeah, that's a Coke product. I wasn't expecting it.
मतलब जैसे बाकी लोगों की लाइक फेस रिएक्शन है उन हिसाब से मेरे को लग रहा है ये मोस्ट एक्यूरेट लग रही है मेरे को। इसलिए इसको सेव कर लो, केमिकल्स भी सारे सेव कर लो, हम यहाँ पे बैठ के बनाएंगे। ओके।